Well, hi there. So in this video, we're going to learn about cross-price elasticity of demand, which tells us whether goods are complements or substitutes, and we're going to learn about income elasticity of demand, which tells us whether the goods are normal or inferior. So let's get started. Okay, so to start us off, we're looking at cross-price elasticity of demand, and I've tried to underline here for you the important words. Cross-price, so it's across two goods, right? And so it's the price of one good. How much does it cross over to affect the quantity demanded of another good? And how are the two goods related to each other is really what this is going to tell us. In other words, if we change the price of one, is it going to make the demand for the other go up? Is it going to make the demand for the other go down? And what can we say about the relationship? And so we would say that the formula, right, just to give us a formula, is the percent change in the quantity demanded of one good. And so we'll say of A divided by the percent change in the price of good B. And let's kind of think through what the outcomes of these would be. For example, if I said that the price of good X, maybe this is, this is hot dogs, went down by 5%. Then you would see 5% more hot dog buns, that would be good Y, being, the price actually increased by 5%. Whoops, I can't even read my own thing. The price of the hot dogs went up by 5%, right? So we'll say dogs, right? Dogs, and this is the buns. And we would expect that if the price of the hot dogs goes up, the number of buns or the quantity demanded of buns would decrease. And so in fact, if these are a one-to-one, a -1 value here, it tells us that they are complements. So negative equals a complement. Any negative. If you're closer to zero, it means that they're not super strongly complementary, right? So if we ended up with like -0.2 versus -1, these -1 would be more of a complement, right? More of a complement. And then these would be like a weak complement. Like, sometimes they're bought together, but not always. Now, the positive ones are similar as well. We would say here, if there's a 10% increase of, we'd say, Coke, maybe there's a 2% increase in, Dr. Pepper, right? So we would say that positive value here, right? Positive value equals substitutes. And what we're really saying when it's a fairly small positive value is that they're weakly substitutable. It might make more sense if we said that there's a positive 5% price change in Coke and it drives 5% more quantity in Pepsi. And so that +1 value tells us that they're really strong substitutes at that point. Again, the real trick here is just remembering that it's the same formula as PED. It's just going to be one good over a different good. And sometimes you're going to get like the information, say the price and the quantity for, say, good B, but you might only get the quantity for good A. You might have to then know, well, I've got to put the quantity for A in the A spot and just use the price for B and ignore the quantity for good B. So that sometimes happens with these. Income elasticity. This one is about the income. How much does changing in a person's income affect the amount that they demand, right? How does it change? So we'd say percent change in the quantity demanded, because that's our quantity value, and then it's divided by the percent change in income. And if you remember, I told you at the outset of all of this learning that all of these elasticities that is totally spelled wrong. Elasticities all take the same form, percent change in some quantity over the percent change usually in some kind of dollar value. And so always just remember to put the dollar value on the bottom. Now, income usually comes in dollars, right? So what we can interpret from that is, let's say your income goes up. I'll start here in the middle on this one. Your income goes up by 10%, but you buy 5% more of the good. That's going to be a normal good, right? Because it's positive. So we'd say positive equals normal. And moreover, because it's less than 1, we can say, therefore, it's likely to be a necessity. And why we can make that generalization, right? We would say that, let's say your income triples overnight. You're not likely to buy 3 times as many pillows. Now, certainly if you upgraded the size of your house, you buy more pillows, blah, blah, blah. But there's a limit to where, like, you don't just keep buying more pillows as your income rises. Today, I earn about twice as much money as I did when I started teaching. That was 15 years ago. I don't own twice as many pillows. Another way to think about it, toilet paper. Just because someone's income has gone up tenfold doesn't mean that they're using 10 times as much toilet paper. We hope. Maybe, but like realistically, most of the time, necessities, people's income is going to rise. It's only going to cause them to buy just a little bit more. But there are other goods where it's positive, where your income rises, but then the quantity has a big effect, right? 5% income, 25% quantity. These are typically luxury goods. So if it's greater than one, we usually say that's probably a non-necessity product. Something like a Caribbean cruise, maybe a sports car. That's because a change in your income might actually trigger a fairly large change in the quantity that you consume of that. Now, the ones that we are going to kind of just say one whole category is the negative values. Negative values indicates that the product is inferior. Now, when we learned inferior goods, we said that inferior goods are just the type where as your income rises, you buy less of it. Or as your income falls, your demand rises for it, right? So it's not just buy less, but it's actually your demand is affected by it. And what we can see is that if this income elasticity number, if we said that your income falls 5%, but you buy 10% more of the product, that's going to be a negative value. That's telling us that it's an inferior good. So with income elasticity of demand, the negatives and positives do matter. With cross price, the negatives and positives do matter. The first two elasticity measures, price elasticity of supply, price elasticity of demand, the positives and negatives don't matter as much. It's actually the size of the number. But for these two measures, the positive and negatives are the really important part. The actual size of the number, weak, strong, luxury goods versus necessity goods, is actually less important. The more important thing is to remember the negatives and positives. So hopefully this helped you understanding those last two measures of elasticity of demand. I'll see you next time.